Hello family, hi Instagram family, YouTube family. I am going to be recording this on my own Zoom as well, just to be prepared in case this doesn't go up. This is the live I've wanted to do for the past few days, and there has been a lot of resistance coming up around it. The topics that I'm going to be talking about are going to be heavy. It's reflecting the collective and what I'm feeling into a lot of the people who I've spoken to over the last few years, including my own energy. So before we start,
recording in progress.
Just before we start, I would like to invite you to be very present in the current moment. I'm going to do a very small protection ritual. I'm going to be doing more and more of these, whether I come online, anytime I'm sharing in a public space, because I'm feeling that the need for protection is very high at this point. It's not about fear mongering, but it is about recognizing the state of the world, the energies that are around us. So just setting the intention to come back into your body, into your space, protecting this space, creating a grid of super high vibration light connecting to the highest source of light, creator, universe, God, anything that you want to connect with, and setting the intention that everything that you're receiving in this time is for your highest good, and everything that I say is filtered for your highest good. Anything that is not for your highest good, you can just release with love, that you receive what is correct for you in this time, that the messages are received in the highest light and the best way for you, and that you also have discernment on what is correct for you. And you can filter what I'm saying through your own intuition. And I really encourage everyone to use their own intuition with everything they engage with nowadays, in the collective, in relationships, in speaking to people, in any channelings, in any healing work that you do. Just remember, you are always sovereign. You decide what is correct for you. And whether I'm saying it or anyone else is saying it, you are the final decider for what is in your highest good. So I'm just going to leave that here. I'm going to ask for protection of the highest light, that anything that is not for you, for us, is transmuted with ease, that you receive what is correct for you at this time, that you're able to take action in a way that is easy for you to move forward, that everything that is coming through me is coming through the highest light for the benefit of all. And that everyone here, including myself, is free from any manipulation, projection, implants, explants, any dense energies, any psychic energies, any attack energies, anything that remove, take away, knowingly or unknowingly, your sovereignty, your light. And let's begin. So, as you know, I wanted to come live yesterday. And I created a headache, a migraine for myself. Now, I don't know about you, but I have definitely been feeling very dense energy, very exhausted the last 3 days. I know it's because of the eclipse portal that we are in. And honestly, I was completely winded. So I didn't want to come live yesterday because it didn't feel like the right time. And today doesn't feel great, to be honest. I personally didn't sleep at all last night either. And I feel like for the last 3 days, I've kind of been trying to cocoon. And I feel this is very present in the collective. And if that's you, just know that you're here in this time for a reason. And your soul chose to incarnate in this time, and we might not have all the answers. However, we have the tools to go through this. So that's the first thing I'm going to say. I will maybe refer to my notes. What I'm going to talk about today is a little bit personal, a little bit collective, and then also offer you some remedies, some medicine that you can choose to implement or not. None of this is imposed on you. This is my opinion. You can use it for entertainment purposes. And also, I'm not really debating. I might share sources of how I'm receiving this information, because the way my channel works is I ask questions and then I'm taken to information. Either I see images, or I hear things, or my guides show me things, or I'm actually taken to something physical, or something is in my physical reality where it's saying, pay attention to this. So sometimes I will share sources for you to go delve into investigation if that's what's required for you. But mostly I'm going to do some predictions, and I'm going to be honest with you. As I said in the beginning, this is not love and light channeling. I am going to give things to you as they come up in reality. And I'm also going to offer you some tools to navigate these times. So looking through my notes, firstly, you know that we just had a lunar eclipse. And so the 25th of March, we had a lunar eclipse. We are coming in to another eclipse, a solar eclipse in Aries, April 8th or 9th, depending where you live in the world. So right now we're in the time between eclipses, and it might feel very uncomfortable. There's a lot of planets in Aries. This is not going to be an astrology transmission, but I will bring in some astrology because it's relevant and you might choose to look at it on your own. So we're going to have a lot of planets in Aries for the eclipse, April 8th. And so I'm an Aries sun, and I can already feel the energy very intensely. To tell you a little bit about me as a channel so that you understand the prism it's going through. Those of you who know human design, I'm a projector. I have a lot of individual circuitry and one collective channel, which means my transmission is coming firstly through myself. I'm a 2/4 projector. I take things into my own channel, and then I share with my tribe, being a 4th line, a lot of things that are meant for the collective. And a lot of the times I feel energies weeks, months, even years before they show up in the collective. So sometimes the timing can be off because time is not linear, and especially now it's very malleable. And as a collective, and depending on how the collective reacts to what is happening around us, these timelines can shift and change. So I'm going to give the reading as of now, which is maybe the 28th, 29th of March, I don't even know, 2024. And so as I said, we're in between eclipses, and the North Node, i.e. our collective destiny for the next few months, definitely for this year, is in Aries as well. And Aries is the sign of the individual. I am survival, very root chakra energy. It's also warlike energy. It's energy of being sovereign, of taking action. It's ruled by Mars, and Mars is the god of war. And as you know, we are in the time in the collective of war. And this is all culminating towards the 8th of April solar eclipse. This eclipse is very powerful. I have spoken about it in past channelings and energy readings, but I'm going to talk about something in particular now, and I encourage you to do your own research. It's to do with the time of Passover, which I think is around the 22nd of April. And also Passover, and how the story of the red heiffers, which are these cows, you might have heard about them in the news or not. If you're watching mainstream, you might not have heard about this. But I encourage you to do your research on the fact that 5 red heifers were shipped from Texas to Israel for a ceremony. And I won't go too much into it, but in essence, the ceremony is really a ritual sacrifice of one of these heifers, which are chosen. They're supposed to be blemish-free. A red heifer is this russet, brown red type of cow. And in essence, it's to do with the Jewish and a lot of Christian eschatology, end times. Now, this is not to fearmonger, it's just to tell you what's actually happening, because the more people believe something, the more it can appear in our reality. And in, let's say, Christian and Judaic eschatology, they're different but somehow related. A sacrifice of a red, unblemished red heifer is basically to bring about the Messiah, and it's to bring about the construction of the third temple. Again, please feel free to look into the actual eschatology, the mythology, the traditions around this. I'm going to give you a very short synopsis, but in essence, in Orthodox Judaism and in Judaism, there is a teaching, a prophecy that the sacrifice of a red heifer is going to bring about the Messiah, and it's to build the third temple. And this sacrifice of this cow done on the Mount Temple in Jerusalem, overlooking the Al-Aqsa Mosque. So on what is currently the Al-Aqsa Mosque, they're planning to build the third temple. And so as you can imagine, that is going to cause even more an escalation of the war. And Hamas, whether you believe it or not, had actually said one of the reasons that they started their, let's say, uprising on October the 7th was because of the red heifers and the sacrifice that they are saying is coming up. Now, Christian eschatology thinks this is also a bringing about a prophecy of the end times. So in that way, they're linked. However, they differ in terms of the actual meaning of what it is, right? So the reason I'm sharing this story with you is because, again, the geographic area of the Middle East is going to be even more explosive than it currently is. And this whole thing about ritual sacrifice, we've been seeing that there's been huge sacrifice, bloodletting on the land of what is currently Palestine. And we know what we're in the energy of war. We're seeing that in escalation of warmongering with Russia and the West. And I feel like this war energy is exhausting a lot of us. So if you are sensitive, if you are an empath, if you are exhausted about the injustices that you see in the world, I just would like to let you know that this is a normal response. And for those of you who are not shying away from the agony, the pain of your brothers and sisters who are suffering, who are under war, it is okay for you to feel exhausted, sad, angry, grief-stricken. This is a normal response, and it's really the time for you to be able to live in two realities of being witness to horrible atrocities, of becoming an activist in whatever way you see fit for you, and also taking care of self, sovereignty. self-care, because you cannot give and share and help your cause. And for me, it's decolonization, sovereignty, helping you become really true to what is correct for you in this lifetime through your own vessel, free from manipulation, slavery, and colonialist patriarchal paradigms. That is my goal. And that's also the reasons that I'm doing these transmissions, because for me, this is a way to tap in, to share what you might not really be able to put words to. And some of these things that I'm talking about might help you navigate these times, might help you research, might help actually just to give you permission to feel whatever it is that you're feeling, and also to move forward, to not stay stuck. It's very important to feel these feelings and to not get stuck in them. So we spoke about the energy of war, and I'm seeing this intensify. I'm going to look through my notes. I'm seeing this intensify, and also we as a collective always have a choice. So nothing is a given, because in this reality we have choice. The sad thing is we've forgotten that we have choice because of the systems of oppression, because of the systems as they are set up. So the government, the military industrial complex, the pharma industrial complex, the mainstream media. These are tools of control. They're rules and tools of the patriarchy, of imperialism. And this system has not only hurt the indigenous, the global south, but it's also hurting the West, the white people. And so it's incumbent upon all of us to make sure that we join together to really dismantle this system of oppression, of inequality, of extortion, of slavery, so that there's a more equitable sharing of resources. And I'm going to get into that later, but I spoke about that on my last channeling. Because this system, late stage capitalism, is making the rich richer and the poor poorer, and the divide, whether you're in the global south or you're in the West, this divide between the haves and have-nots is just increasing. And that is by design. So what I would ask you to look at, encourage you, invite you to look at, to research this, is Agenda 2030, the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, how you will have nothing and you will be happy. You will own nothing and you will be happy. And a lot of the crises that we're seeing around us right now, the economy, war, dis-ease, illness, they are many times they are manipulated and they're created. Now, why are they created? Why have war? Why create an economic collapse? Because that is what's happening. Why create fear, scarcity? Because in those conditions where our survival, our base chakra survival instincts are coming up, where we're feeling lack of our survival. This is root chakra, this is Aries energy. Where we're feeling under threat of survival, we are easy to manipulate. We hand over control. We want someone to save us. And that is how control and manipulation and subjugation continues. So the moment we realize that as a collective, we are much stronger than the 1%, I've gone through this, who is the 1%, the elite, the cabal, the rich get richer. You can call it whatever you want, shadow government, cabal, Illuminati. It really doesn't matter what word you use. But there are a band of people who are controlled by, let's say, energies of oppression and you can go into good, bad, right, wrong, evil, good. That's not a conversation for this particular life. But there's a very small percentage of the population who is deciding the predicaments, lives of those of the 99%. And we always have a choice, but we don't think we have a choice. So a tool, medicine, remedy I can offer is think about where you're handing your power over to the government. The government will save me, I'll get a handout. The job will save me. My relationship will save me. My family will save me. Someone else has the answer. I don't know what is the right way to go. That's where you're handing over your power and you need to call it back. Now, I'm going to be offering workshops on gaining back your sovereignty. How do we do this? What does it look like? But this is what I'm saying to you in, let's say, the first level is remember where you're handing your power away, because this is what keeps you enslaved. And all these crises that we're seeing around us are tools of distraction so that you actually don't know what's really happening. Case in point, the stuff about the royal family. It's not about whether you like them or not, but the drama around the royal family. This is a distraction, right? I don't know if you've noticed, but there's more and more talk about aliens and disclosure and invasions, and are we really alone in this world? Of course we're not alone in this world. We never have been. But this is now being fed through in terms of the movies that you see around, stuff in Netflix, the Obama movie. It's more and more talk about aliens, right? So notice what's happening around you and ask the question, why is that coming up now? This is not you. We have not been alone in the world for millennia. So why is it just coming now? And why is it so permeating the mainstream now? There is a reason for that, right? And I want you to just keep that in the back of your mind, because that's another form of distraction. What is it a distraction from? We don't know exactly, but it is a distraction because you go into this distraction, you don't focus on yourself, your community. You go into these movies, have subliminal messages, programming. You can check all of that up. Everything that I'm saying can be verified. Go into MK Ultra programs after the Second World War. Go into what happened after the Second World War. Go and research Nazis in the US government. Go and research CIA and PSYOPs. This is not a conspiracy theories. These can be verified very easily by actually just going and doing a Google search. Another distraction is the economy, right? Everything that you're seeing in the news, mostly in the mainstream news, is a lie. Economies, especially Western economies, are not doing well. We are in a debt-led economy, and printing of money and in fiat currency is basically linked on the confidence of the US dollar. Now, you might know or not know that the confidence in the US dollar is waning. They're the BRICS nations, the global south, that are more and more are increasingly de-dollarizing. They're trading and they are investing in their own currencies. I also want you to bear in mind, we are actually, I believe, in a recession already. You're not hearing that because the whole point of central government and media is to manage fear and to keep things the same, manage panic. Because if you really knew what was going on, there would be mass sell-offs, hoarding. And I'm not saying this in order for you to create that and to be afraid of it. I'm saying this so that you can actually take action, right? So if we are having a decoupling of the dollar and de-dollarization, and if there is a recession, that means there's going to be increasing social unrest. What are some of the remedies? Some of the remedies are to invest in real assets, Now, this is not huge investments, but if you have cash lying in the bank, and if you have anything available, buy gold, silver, and bullion, physical, not an ETF, not something linked to the stock market that could go to zero, and that is based on clearing systems, financial clearing systems that can be controlled. If you have physical gold, bullion, silver, these are assets that can be used for barter, right? Because in a time of hyperinflation, which can be coming, the money in the bank is not going to be worth much. There's more and more talk about central bank digital currencies, and whether you believe it or not, there is an argument that the creator of Bitcoin is, let's say, part of the government, part of the banking system. I can't verify whether that's true or not. I have invested in Bitcoin myself. I have lost a lot in Bitcoin. And my current feeling is that it's actually part of the system where they want to change from fiat currency to central bank digital currency, which actually is just another form of control. So when Bitcoin, the whole idea was it's decentralized, no one can own it. But when you have real money and you have ETFs, so synthetic financial instruments that are part of the real economy, investing in Bitcoin, for me, that's a little bit suspect. So it's the very system that you're trying to get away from, to get independence from, that are investing in it. So I find that a little bit suspect. So my call is to stick to gold, silver, real assets, and very importantly, community, right? The whole idea is when we're fractured, when we're divided, divide and conquer is the biggest tool of imperial nations. It's a way to control, it's a way to distract. So when we're fighting amongst ourselves, so Republican, Democrat, conservatives, Labor, the two-party system, when we're talking about politics, and I've already said, I believe elections, I'm not really quite sure whether even in democratic countries, it's really the electorate who is deciding. That's another note. But it's this concept that we are so different amongst ourselves that allows us to be controlled. So where can we find like-minded communities? Where can we think about getting access to clean food, water, infrastructure? And infrastructure is coming out now because you know what just happened in Baltimore Bridge, the collapse. For me, that is 100% staged. That was not an accident. And if you now take the Baltimore into consideration and look at the other two big shipping networks in the world, which is the Suez Canal, the Panama Canal, both of which have had problems in the last 12 months, you can see that there's going to be a constraint on infrastructure, shipping, supplies. What does that do? It increases prices. Inflation leads to us having scarcity of products. This is why I encourage people to build community, be too close to the food supply, to support the farmers, because what's happening is this is a structural change that the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. Farmland is being put into the hands of very few players, including the government, and he who controls food controls the population. So I would encourage you to support your farmers. Take produce close to home. Really eat local. Support local farmers. Because that allows you to have some level of independence. Because that's exactly what they're trying to take away, our independence, our sovereignty. So unless you obey the government, the powers that be, the CBDC stuff that's coming in, the social credit system that already exists in China, that's a precursor to what can happen in the rest of the world. We're already seeing a lot of governments trial central bank digital currency. So I believe this is, unless we take action collectively, that's something that can be imposed. And at that time, we might be so desperate in terms of not having money, unemployment being up, it being impossible to own real assets because asset prices are so inflated, real goods being too expensive, wages going down or not going high enough for inflation, this means that money in your pocket is going to have less buying power. So I don't want it to go into an economics lesson, but all of this is to say that you need to have backup. And how do you have backup? Stay close to the food supply, stay close to water supply. I believe water is going to be a huge thing going forward. And water, it's not clear to me whether that's seawater, flooding, access to water. I believe it could be all of those things. But water is going to be a big theme going forward. So make sure you have access to clean water. So another thing I wanted to talk about in terms of very quickly the economy and what's happening, and I don't think people are really aware of it. You can go look at the work of Gary Stevenson because I'm very aligned with what he's saying. He's an economist and trader. I've talked about him before. He's saying that asset prices, i.e. real estate, so a house, if you want to buy a house, asset prices are increasing. And they're increasing much faster than our RPI, retail price index. So even though, our cost of food and shopping is going up, asset prices are going up even faster. So what does this mean? This means this accelerates the transfer of assets, real estate in the hands of the people who have the money. Who has the money? It's the big investment funds, the governments, the 1%. And what's going to happen is as foreclosures increase because people can't afford their mortgage payments, again, I'm not going to go into an economics lecture, but as we are more and more unable to keep up with asset price increases, the person on the ground, let's say, that's going to accelerate the transfer of assets, of wealth between the people who are losing their homes, right, because they can't afford them, people who can't get onto the housing ladder, to these big investment funds, private equity, the BlackRocks, Vanguards, the banks, the governments of the world. And this is why, again, I'm going to come back to stay close to community. We've got so used to in the West of doing everything on our own. I'm sovereign, I do this on my own. Yes, you're sovereign, and you can't exist without community. And I believe community and banding together is going to be so important going forward because they can only take control if we allow them. You can go look up strawman theory. There's common law. I encourage you to read up on that because I believe it's going to be important. We saw what happened in the time of the big scandemic. And I can tell you that's a trial run for the things that are coming. Again, it's not to cause panic. It's for asking you to be prepared so you're not caught like a rabbit in headlights. It's about preparation. It's about knowing what's coming. Let's end with my focus on decolonization work because I believe this is very important and it's very important in this time as a collective in humanity right now. More and more we're seeing through the systems of control. We can see how most of the world doesn't want war. Most civilians in most countries don't want war. We're seeing them protest against war on the streets. And yet the governments who are supposed to be answering to us, the governments are taking matters into their own hands. So what is going to be very important going forward is to, again, band collectively, make sure that your voice is heard. If you still believe in voting, go ahead. But I can tell you that system is much more manipulated than you think. It's about creating grassroots communities, networks, making our voice heard, standing up for justice for all peoples. And this is white people and colored people alike. There's a lot of healing work to do in the collective, especially for people of color, people of the global south, people who have been colonized, oppressed for hundreds of years, and that has been by the West. So let's not mince words. I'm not here to mince words. I'm also not here to blame people who are not necessarily thinking the way that I think, but I do believe the time has come, and I can see it, you can see it all around you, where systems of oppression are falling and people in power don't want to lose control. And the minute they feel that there's a rising up of collective consciousness, because we can see what's happening in the wars, we can see that the governments are not actually acting in the way that their populations are encouraging, demanding. And so their grip on this control is weakening, and that's going to mean that they're going to try to be more oppressive. And you need to know this so that you're prepared. This is why I am doing these lives and why I'm talking about certain sectors where I believe that you should focus on, which is food, water, infrastructure, real assets, community, being sovereign, making sure that you take care of your nervous system, standing up for justice for all peoples, and really saying no when you are noticing control. Now, sometimes some people will have no idea what I'm talking about, but there are going to be a few of you who listen to what I'm saying, and you're going to see this already. And the reason I was called to do this live is because in my session work and for myself, and what I've been hearing from you guys on my social media, is a lot of you are feeling very uneasy right now. And I'm telling you that as we're going into the solar eclipse in April, things are about to get a lot more chaotic. So tend to your nervous system. Make sure you have a daily practice of coming back to yourself, of being sovereign. Notice where you're falling into victimhood, because when you're falling into victimhood, you can be controlled. Learn to cultivate your own sense of what is right and wrong. Be open to other people's opinions, but come back to trusting yourself on what is right, what is wrong. Don't take for given what you're shown on the media, the mass media, the government. Do your own research, right? Take responsibility for yourself so that you can help the collective. I'm going to have a lot more to say, but that seems like I'm complete for now. Please share with me what you think. When I do my lives, it's not in a structured way. I speak to what is coming through me, and a lot of it is spirals. So I trust that whatever has come through, some of you are going to be able to take something away and act on it. If you have questions, and if you're feeling a certain way and you want me to talk about it on a live, I am more than happy to do that. And I'm going to make an announcement about ways to work with me that are radically different from what I've offered in the past, and they're going to be cheaper. So look out for that. Take care of yourselves, and I love you very much.